The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is currently sitting at 22, getting very close to the extreme fear category. Crypto sentiment is now sitting back at 50, dead center in the middle of the chart in the neutral category. The MMRI has jumped back into the 270 range, currently sitting at 276, which means risk is rising even within the high risk category. And it has not traded within these levels since going back to the middle of July 2025. And with this bear market continuing to drag on and on and on, wearing people down to a little nub, just like one of those pencils when it was too short to stick in the pencil sharpener when you was a kid, and there was nothing to grab onto, but you still kind of tried to sharpen it, and it was basically just pointless, and is leaving a lot of people in this frame of mind.
Waiting for the bull market to be like...
And as always, this is not financial advice and is nothing short of the rantings and ravings of a man who certainly wouldn't mind if the market makers suddenly decided to give a dog a bone. But do me a favor and hit that like button before we get started. I would really appreciate it.
Seriously, click the like button. That little button at the bottom of the screen with the thumbs up on it. Tap that sucker. Tap it. Tap it.
Jumping over to take a look at the Shiba Inu chart, this is the weekly chart. Price traded up to this point right here, the all-time high, nearing the end of 2021. Since then, price has been trading within an ABC zigzag to the downside, which is a 5-wave move to the downside for the wave A, a 3-wave move up for the wave B, and a 5-wave move to the downside for the wave C. Now there's some very interesting things to see on this chart. First, we can see that price has been trading within this very nice wedge pattern right here. There is some question to whether or not this ABC right here for the wave B is actually charted correctly, but ultimately this doesn't really make a difference. We can see that this highest push right here pushed up between the 0.702 and the 0.786 fib, with the point that I have marked as the wave B termination pushing up into the range of the 0.618. If this wave was internal structure, then we would actually count this point right here. But either way, this is inconsequential because we are long past this point in the chart. But when we look at the current 5-wave move to the downside for the wave C, we can see that it looks very similar to the 5-wave move we saw for the wave A, having a very deep wave 1 right here, which we see right here on the wave C. And we also saw a very shallow wave 5 right here, after hitting the wave 3 termination, coming up for an ABC flat, pushing down right here for the A wave termination. It basically just swept the liquidity below the wave 3. So there's a very good chance that we could see something similar right here moving forward. Either way, Shiba Inu holders have been waiting for a very long time, waiting through this roller coaster ride to get to where we're currently trading now. This bullish fair value gap right here on the weekly has been acting perfectly as a support level, supporting price back here, supporting price here for the A wave termination, and supporting price in the current area that we're now trading, and hasn't even come close to being broken. And when we look at this, we can see that the price traded down right here, and in doing so, swept all of the lower liquidity out of this complete area right here. And when price was trading in this area here, coming down for this low for the A wave termination, it did the same thing right here. And we can see that after the price moved up here, hit this high, pushed down right here, swept this liquidity, hit the bottom, and then reversed into the wave B. And it looks to me like what we are seeing here on this chart is a 5-wave move down for the wave 1, an ABC for the wave 2, a 5-wave move down for what is marked as the wave 3, which means it looks like we're working on this wave 4 right now. And which also means that we could be pushing up into these fib levels right here. I don't think it's going to push to the 2.36. I think it's going to blow through that, most likely coming up here to the 0.382, because we have a bullish fair value gap on the weekly right here that's very likely to reject price. So we could see the price move up here for the wave 4 and then pushing down for the wave 5 before we eventually see the reversal. Don't take the time frame that I have these set to heart, as they're just put here in an equidistant fashion so that you can look at these charts to get an idea of what I'm talking about. I didn't set these here for a particular reason, other than it just looks like it could potentially be in the range of where it could go. But this would make sense thinking about it from what we saw here previously, after setting this wave 3 termination, pushing up for the wave 4, coming down for the wave 5, sweeping this liquidity, then moving into the wave B. We very well could see that exact same thing pushing up here, faking people out, generating more liquidity to the downside, pushing down for the wave 5, sweeping out all this remaining liquidity right here in anything that was generated during the creation of the wave 4. This bullish fair value gap acting as support as it has since it was created back here. Then price moving into a new bullish formation of price action. Jumping over and taking a look at the liquidation heat map, this is the 3-month chart. We can see that same area right here on the chart. And where price is currently trading, if price does push up into that upper range that I was talking about for the wave 4, it's very likely that it would take out this previous high right here, coming after this liquidity in this area right here, as there is quite a bit of liquidity resting in this range. But I think it's very likely that it will save this upper liquidity for later. We can see that resting right here just above the current price, there's quite a bit of liquidity resting in this range as well, which makes it a very likely target. And although there's not an absolute ton of liquidity resting below this previous low here, if price was to move up chasing after this upper liquidity, it would gradually generate more sell-side liquidity in the process, making it worth the market maker's time to eventually bring price down to sweep out these previous lows, just like it did during the wave A. We can see that it already has a decent band of liquidity resting right here, just below these previous lows. But all in all, the vast majority of liquidity on this chart remains above the current price. If you've been looking for a place to swap your cryptos for 0 fees, use my link and sign up for BitUnex. It's where I swap all of my crypto. You'll be glad that you did. Now jumping over to take a look at MSTR, which basically derives the vast majority of its value directly from Bitcoin. We can see that MSTR was trading within this well-defined channel right here on the weekly chart, in which the entire previous bull run was contained. Once the bear market started at the tail end of 2024, as we can see right here in regard to MSTR, price started to trade downward in an ABC zigzag to the downside. And in doing so, the wave C has now broken out of the bottom of this channel. And in doing so has been filling many of the gaps that were created previously during the bull run. This chart is another example of why I firmly believe that the bear market started shortly after the Trump election pump, because when you look at the vast majority of the cryptocurrencies, they're all exhibiting similar patterns, with the high being set in this range, with the exception of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, which were able to disguise the fact that the bear market started right here by pushing up for a wave B that was higher than this price point here, as they are all trading within expanding flats. And we can see right here, this is where the bear market started in regard to the Bitcoin chart. MSTR actually jumped to the lead and started trading to the downside before Bitcoin did. But when we dial in and take a look at this wave C that we're currently trading in right now, which is a 5-wave move to the downside, we have a wave 1, wave 2, down for wave 3, up for the wave 4, created a couple volume imbalances right here, and we look to be trading within the wave 5, very similar to what we're seeing on the Bitcoin chart. This wave 5 is also a 5-wave move to the downside. And as I've been talking about, it looks like we've already started to work into the wave 5, which will be the final wave to the downside for this wave C. This is more evidence to the fact that this was not the start of the bear market. The bear market started right here. Even though the Bitcoin chart does not agree with MSTR, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of charts that all show a very similar pattern, with the exception of 3 cryptos. Most people believe that the bear market started in this area here around the time of the flash crash on crypto, which is represented by this white line, believing that this right here is all the bear market that we have seen thus far. And you can take one look at this chart and see that that is not accurate. And why they all believe that this is a wave A, which is going to eventually come up for a wave B in a bear market rally, then down for a final wave C. When looking at this chart, that premise simply does not fit. Bitcoin is not going to 30,000 short of a black swan event. And while a black swan event can never be completely ruled out and is seeming even more likely every single day, from a purely chart perspective, it simply is not in the charts. And price is getting very close to this bullish fair value gap right here on the weekly, which subsequently is exactly where the fib levels are resting. Dead center in the middle. And it's very likely that we're going to see the exact same thing within Bitcoin and MSTR, albeit they won't time out perfectly as they never have in the past, pushing down for this final wave 5, then moving into a bullish reversal. We can see right here moving into the bear market that MSTR started to trade down previous to Bitcoin. It started to trade down previous to Bitcoin here for the wave B. When we go back on previous chart action, we can see that when the bull market started, MSTR took a while to catch up, not actually starting till it hit right here. And when this bear market started right here, represented by this red line at the wave 2 termination, MSTR had already started correcting quite a ways before we actually saw the bear market in cryptos by 273 days. Granted, MSTR was just starting to accumulate this incredible stack of Bitcoin that they now have. And compared to the amount of Bitcoin they had during this time, to the amount of Bitcoin they now have in this area, is 2 completely different stories. MSTR is absolutely loaded with Bitcoin now. And when we look at the CCI, we can see it resting at the white line just above the oversold territory. But when we jump over and take a look at the Bitcoin daily chart, we can see this bullish order block right here on the daily, which has been supporting price since the first week of March, is getting very close to breaking. And once this bullish order block breaks, price is probably going to push down fairly quickly into the range of this fair value gap right here on the weekly. But either way, we still have the wave 3, 4, and 5 remaining to the downside. And I've mentioned numerous times, I believe it's coming down to the 1.702 at about 51,500. It certainly could push a little bit lower, but luckily we have this bullish fair value gap on the weekly right here that is very likely going to act as support. But as far as pushing down here to the 30,000 range, I don't think so, boys. Just take a look at what the rainbow chart has to say about it, because it certainly tells us an interesting story if anyone wants to pay attention. What are the odds that the purple line would be trading right in this area? I don't think it's very likely we're coming down to this level here, short of a major black swan event. And as I said, that certainly could happen. But in terms of charting, it just simply doesn't look like it's in the cards. Especially when we have already been in this bear market for about 432 days. The only private community in the world that has the XRP cipher.